So rules for middle school ministry. So these are the rules that we ask for the students to abide by. And my hope is as you hear these rules, you would say, yeah, those are good rules, those are fair rules, and those are not ridiculous. So the first rule we have is that everyone must stand up when we have worship or we have time when we sing. That we don't require anyone to participate or to sing. We don't require anybody to do actions or raise their hands or to clap, do anything like that. We don't require that of them. The minimum requirement that we ask for them is to stand. That's just an opportunity to be respectful to the volunteers we have that are students that are singing and leading worship. And so we just ask them to stand, not to sing, but to stand. I think it's a lot more fun if they sing, but we only require them to stand. The second thing is they cannot be a distraction to their neighbors. And this could be talking, this could be playing on their phone, this could be anything else that could be a distraction. And so I try to be really gracious because I am a terrible singer. Like if you've been watching the Student Ministries online videos, you know that's true, that I am a horrible singer. And so I try to give kids the benefit of the doubt because I never want to shame or make some student that's being sincere feel bad. So whether that's clapping, because I can't clap on beat either. And so whether it's clapping, whether it's singing, we really want to help students to not be a distraction. And so if they're doing something that's being silly and they're not being very sincere, then we are going to ask them to stop. They really just want to provide an atmosphere where students can worship God, that if they want to sing, if they want to engage in the songs, that they can do that without being distracted by students that aren't as interested. The third rule is that they can't talk during the worship or the message. That's not a time for them to talk. That I really try to limit the questions that I ask because I know that with middle school students, it makes it so easy for them to go, oh, we can talk right now. And so I'm going to start talking to my neighbor. And then I have to try and get them back. And so we just really limit talking. That if they have a question and they ask their neighbor real fast, we don't make a big deal out of that. But we really want to limit talking during that time because it's easy to be a distraction to the people around that are trying to listen to the message. No cell phones. So we allow students to bring cell phones, but they can play with them during game time. But after game time, they need to go in their pocket. That we have Bibles. If students want to follow along with in Bibles, and that works better inside. Outside, we aren't going to have Bibles. But I'll do my best to have messages that are engaging and that are still have a lot of great content, even though they won't have their phones and they won't have their Bibles. And so I would encourage you, if your son or daughter has a Bible at home, to bring it, to say, hey, bring it along with your water bottle, bring it along with your chair to youth group, and we're going to look through your Bible that way. If students don't have a Bible, we love to give them a Bible. We always want to get Bibles in the hands of students that I believe that the Bible transforms people's lives, and so we want to hand it out. We want to give it to them. And so if you don't have one, if your family doesn't have one, we'd love to give you some. So just let me know, and I would love to get you some. One of the other rules, as this doesn't apply when we're outside because there's no stage, but when we're inside, we only allow students to come up onto the stage if they're invited onto the stage. So there's a lot of equipment that we don't want to break, we don't want to get damaged, and so the stage is off limits unless you've been invited to come onto the stage. That you need to ask permission, rule number 6, you need to ask permission to leave the room. That we don't stop kids from going to the bathroom, we don't stop them from going and getting a drink. When we have the drinking fountains open because COVID's not a thing. But right now, they need to bring a water bottle with them. But we don't stop them. But we want to know where they're going because we have some students that will leave early, whether it's because they have a club that they're involved in or they have something else going on. And we want to know that we are no longer responsible for them, that mom and dad has picked them up. Because it's a really scary situation for us. And it's not fun for me at all when I have to call a parent and say, hey, do you have your son or daughter because they disappeared and I'm not sure if they left with you or if they're somewhere in the building and we need to find them. And so we just want to know, I am leaving for the day, or I'm leaving for the night because I have this thing or that thing. We just want to know that. And so we also want to know, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm coming back, that kind of thing. Rule number 7 is that students need to wait for their small group leader to leave the room for small group time. So as we come back inside for small group time, this might be less of an issue when we're not when we are in our COVID protocol or our temporary situation, because most of the small groups will meet in the rooms where they meet for large group, though to spread out. But when we go back to our normal methods of things, we spread out all over the building. And when we do that, we don't want 5 middle school boys to be on a couch for 5 minutes before their small group leader gets there, because I love middle school boys, that they are awesome and fantastic, but you'd be surprised the amount of damage they can do to a couch in 5 minutes when they don't have a small group leader with them. And so we want to just wait. We want them to wait for their small group leader to get there before they sit down on the couch, because we just want to be respectful of our stuff, and we want to just, again, maintain supervision over students. Rule number 8 is that pop and candy is only allowed during the game portion of the night. So we have vending machines here at the church, and we allow students to bring money to buy pop, to buy candy out of the vending machines, but they need to either have drank that or to eaten that by the time that game time is done. That we, if they have a candy or something, they can put it in their pocket, but it's got to stay in their pocket. But we don't want to have that going through the rest of the night, because it creates too much of a distraction and we get stuff spilled and it's just kind of a mess. And so we say, hey, you can have it during game time, but you need to put it away when it comes time for everything else. So students probably will not have access to the pop and candy machine during our outside part of the evening. When we start to meet inside, they'll have access to it, but we probably will limit that part of the building just so we only have the bathrooms open. And then the final rule is no rock throwing. That you might think, I don't know that this seems like pretty self-evident, but you'd be surprised how many middle school students want to throw rocks. And so we have a playground area that's full of rocks. And a few years ago, we had a student that got hit in the head with a rock and they had to get stitches, and it was really terrible. I never want a student to come to youth group and have to go home getting stitches. And so we just have a new policy that if you throw a rock, you're done for the night. I have to call mom or dad. You have to go home. You can come back next week, but you're done for tonight. You got to go home. And we just can't have people throwing rocks. It's too dangerous, and we care about people too much to risk them getting hit in the head with a rock. So those are our rules we have for for middle school ministry. Those are the rules we have for middle school ministry.